So today we're going to be interviewing the lovely Katie Wyatt, who is a business coach and the very famous wellness entrepreneur, which I love. And I've been very blessed to have met Katie very early on in my journey. And she's very much helped me along the way with lots of different things. But today in particular, we have Katie along to talk to us about how to leverage our business by using a couple of tools that I know Katie knows and uses very well. So thank you so much for joining us, Katie.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's so fun to be here.
Yay. Awesome. So we'll start off. Firstly, I guess I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about your business as well, because I know you're not just a coach. There's so much more to you. So did you want to tell us a little bit about what you do?
Sure. So my business is called The Wellness Entrepreneur, which is really about the people that I tend to work mostly with, which is people that are in that wellness space. And I know that you do too. And it's a very broad definition that we bring to the word wellness. Like, it's health coaches, it's also the spiritual people. It's basically primarily women who are in a service-based business where they're selling their passion and expertise to help others. I also work with a few product-based businesses. I really love product-based businesses. It's a very different business model. And I call myself a bit of a business coach and bossy pants, because what I'm not is the type of coach that asks questions and says, well, I do ask questions, but I don't always think that all the answer is within you. I am also there as an advisor. I think I bring a lot of business experience to the table, and that I feel is my value. So I'm not shy of an opinion.
Yeah.
And I'm also a trainer. Like, I'm such a teacher at heart, and it's a lot of what I've done in my corporate career. And I just can't help myself but teach others how to do things that I've learned. And, that's why I have a podcasting course. It's why I'm sure I will have many more courses in my future, because I just can't help but teach what I know.
Awesome. And that's it. I like that you're not just, I like to call it the bobblehead, where you just nod and agree with everything that the client says, because that's not really how it should roll. Sometimes people need a little bit more guidance and a bit of a kick up the bum. And I love that approach. I think that works really well. So when you were starting out in your business, what were some things that you used to leverage yourself and your business, I guess, to get more reach out in the world?
It's such a good question. And, it was a bit of a happy accident for me, because I started my podcast, and I have found my podcast to be the single best thing that I've ever done and do to leverage my brand and build my authority. But I started it even before I had started the business. And I think it was, just sometimes you just have those moments of knowing, and you look back and you think, oh yeah, I just knew. But at the time I didn't. Like, I had discovered podcasts, and I discovered them and just went, oh my God, this is my thing. I love consuming these, pearls of wisdom that I can take with me to the park with the dog. I can drive in the car and be learning all this stuff on the move. And that was just insane for me. And so it didn't take me long before I started thinking, I feel like I would have fun on this platform and creating my own podcast. And I was lucky enough that I was following and listening to a podcast by a guy called Tim Reed, who's an Australian guy, and he's got one of the most successful marketing podcasts in the iTunes store. It's called Small Business Big Marketing. And I mean, I don't listen to it much now, but I was listening to it a lot then. And he talked a lot about the impact that podcasting had on his business. Like, he'd gone from being just some, little Melbourne marketing consultant to speaking on stage all over the world, getting paid thousands to do it, all because he had this podcast. And I listened to him. He was so passionate about it. And he always used to tell this story. And I was thinking about it this morning, actually. And it's a story that I love because I think it's true. It's that he would stand in front of a room and he would deliver his keynote and it'd be awesome and everyone would be so excited and so inspired, and he'd say, and what I've learned is there'll be like one person in the room that goes and implements. And that is the opportunity in front of us with something like podcasting, because I totally agree. Lots of people want to do it, but it's got a little bit of a barrier in that you've got to figure out some tech and stuff. So most people won't. You know, there's millions of videos and blogs online, and there's like 300,000 podcasts in the iTunes store. So for me, it was kind of like, oh, there's an opportunity. I might be able to kind of stand out from the crowd in a way that I knew a blog wouldn't be able to, given I started just over a year ago. And so, yeah, that's what I did. And it worked brilliantly. You know, it took a while, but I was really consistent with it, and I still am. It's kind of the one thing in my business that I commit to doing. And it has built my brand. It gives me that little something extra that other people don't have. So I definitely have stood out from the crowd.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think your podcast in particular, it's probably been close to a year that I started listening. And for me as well, because I was the health coach side of things back then, it definitely had some amazing tips and things in there for people who are just starting out as well. And that's the great thing when you're busy mum, or you are working already still and trying to, you know, make your other business on the side, trying to hustle it, then it's good to have something in your ear to listen to while you've got no hands free.
Yes, exactly. Because, you know, I'm a side hustler too. If it's not family, it's I also have my dream job, which I'm not doing at the moment. But, you know, like this kind of, we're women. We've always got something else that's more important that we should be doing. So it's a really nice way.
Just note to self, not doing job because you have two new beautiful twins. So
yeah, I've got a different side hustle now.
Yes. So when you so obviously, yeah, you've just mentioned you started sort of over a year ago. So apart from listening to other people's podcasts, what other help did you get? Did you sort of just wing it to start with and then the rest sort of fell into place?
Oh, look, I made so many mistakes and bumbles along the way. Like I feel like it took me forever to kind of get into my groove. It really didn't, but at the time when you're starting, it really does. Like you just want things to happen, and it can feel really slow, and you can feel like, you know, there must be some way to know how to do things, and you just didn't know what it was. So I probably bumbled around for 6 months, and then I just thought, this is ridiculous. I'm spending money and I'm not really having any cut through or making any, starting to see the results. So I hired a business coach, and I've pretty much worked with a business coach since then. So not the same business coach. I've had two now. I currently don't have a business coach, but I suppose what I have now is probably, I feel much more confident now in knowing what I want to do and how I want to implement, and I rely on my support tribe, my masterminds, I've kind of got a different type of posse around me that help and give me advice and stuff. I know that I'll eventually start working with a business coach again when I'm ready for that kind of next level or need some other support. But yeah, I find that really useful for me. I definitely wouldn't say that I had equal experiences with each of those coaches. One was probably, I'd hired someone that was operating a business model that I didn't admire or didn't aspire to. And so, all she could teach me was the way that she did things. And when I realised that it wasn't the way I wanted to do things, I was kind of like, well, there's sort of a limit to the value that I'm going to get from that. Whereas the next coach that I hired, I was much more careful, and I really hired somebody who had a business model that I admired greatly, and I wanted to kind of build towards that, and that's exactly what I did. And now, you know, the next business coach, I have no idea who it will be, but, you know, I'll be looking for the same thing. Who's doing the next thing that I want to be doing, and who can I learn from? So
exactly. I think that's a good tip too. And I'm the same as you. You were one of my business coaches. But I think we get to that point too. I have some amazing ladies around me too now in a local mastermind, and they're from very different business types, but we all just give each other such great sort of build up and foundation that kind of gets me by right now. But I definitely know in the future, if something sort of shows up to me or someone that I admire, then, you know, definitely that'll be the way to go. And so just with your podcasting, how do you sort of choose the guest that you want to come on? Like, do you ask your tribe, or is it some sort of structure that you have in place?
I've tried so many different things. It's been really interesting, actually, because the podcast is called The Wellness Entrepreneur. And so when I began it, it was really my cheeky way of getting to talk to people I admired in the wellness space that I would, if I was at an event with them, I would just totally be too scared to go and talk to them. Whereas having a podcast, you're kind of like, hey, do you want to chat? Because you have a reason to engage, and I loved that. So it really began me wanting to profile people that were making their living in the wellness space. And then as it grew, I began bringing on people that were, so I suppose it almost charted my own development journey. You know, you kind of, as you know, you teach what you most need to learn. And the things that were resonating with me on my business journey, I would get people on to talk about on the podcast. So whether it was money blocks or, you know, other kind of business or personal development focuses. And then so it's kind of been a real mix of wellness peeps, product-based people, and business coaches that have very different focus areas. And now because I've started a second podcast with Elle Roberts, who's a bit of, you know, someone that I collaborate with quite a lot. Yeah. And we've started another podcast, which is called Lady Boss Chats, where we talk about business stuff. And so what that I found that has given me real permission to do is actually to let go of more of the business stuff and get back to why I started The Wellness Entrepreneur, which was really to profile people that are making a living in the wellness industry. Yeah. And so I've got some really exciting people lined up. I've got lots of people that I want to approach. So I approach people. I also get pitched a lot. And lately I've had some pitches that have been fantastic, and I've had some of them on the show and some of them are still to come on. And yeah, I do ask my tribe every now and then, like, who are the wellness people that you most would love to kind of learn from or hear from? And yeah, so it's a bit of a combination.
Yeah, awesome. And so when you're, so tell me this one with Elle, which is amazing. I've listened to a couple of episodes. So you guys, you're focusing more on the ladies in business kind of thing?
With Elle?
Yeah.
Yeah, so sorry, I just cut out a little bit. I thought that's what you said. Yeah, so we just found, because we do collaborate quite a bit, we found that we were having these conversations on a daily basis, all about the aches and pains and joys of being in business. And we also were in a mastermind together, we still are in a mastermind group together. And it was giving us so much joy and support that we were like, you know, these conversations need to be shared. And so we just decided to try out having these conversations and putting them on each of our own podcasts. Yeah. And after a while, we were getting such a great response to them that we thought, you know, we're gonna do it. We're gonna spin it off and make it its own show. And yeah, so it's interesting launching a show 18 months after I launched my first show. And in that time, I'm a podcast teacher. I coach people on podcasting, and then I've launched a second show. It's been a completely different experience. So that's been interesting as well.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. And so taking back to the leveraging part, as you know, and especially because you have an amazing group as well, I go through with my girls the importance and I guess the amazingness of Facebook as a platform, especially for business. So when we're sort of looking at that, what do you feel about Facebook, and do you use that as a leverage point for your business as well?
I do. Facebook groups particularly are huge for me. I still believe that my podcast is definitely the thing that has given me the most longevity and authority and all of those good things that we want when we're building our brands and businesses. But Facebook groups have just opened up connection for me. Like, they've opened up a like-minded community that I just love. And I think now, how did I operate in business without Facebook groups? Because I did, like, for the first 6 months, I didn't even know that all these entrepreneurs were hanging out in Facebook groups.
It's a different world, isn't it?
I don't know what I was doing. I was just talking to myself, I think. And so it was really, I still remember that moment of kind of discovering this whole world, and suddenly, my phone, like, it was just like 55 notifications because of all the conversations you're carrying on. So I go through cycles with it. Like, it's been immensely valuable for me, monetary terms. Like, I get a lot of my clients through Facebook groups, but I don't just sell there. Like, it's fun for me. And I'm sure this is exactly what you talk about with your girls, is it's about showing up and connecting and being of value and being of service, and also sharing the things that you are brilliant at and can help people with. And I think as a full strategy like that, it is incredibly effective. But I also work with lots of clients who hate the idea of hanging out in Facebook groups. And so that is as well keeps me, keeps my skills on my toes, because I can't just say, well, just go and sell in Facebook groups. Like, there's got to be a really holistic strategy in your whole marketing campaign, and Facebook groups can be a really great part of that, but it can't be the only thing, because we do, and I know I'm not alone, we do go through those cycles where all your offers are selling out, and then the next week suddenly you're at the bottom of the feed and nobody kind of notices that you're there, or it feels like, oh my God, there's 55 other people offering the same thing as me. And so if you just rely on that response on Facebook to keep your sense of how your business is going, I think it's not enough on its own. So you've got to be thinking about building your email list. You've got to be thinking about how else you're bringing, if you work one-on-one with clients, how else you're bringing new clients into your sphere, so that you can, have got a healthy pipeline of people to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of clients that I've spoke to who their client base actually doesn't use Facebook, well, not very often. So that's, it is very much based on the clients as well that you're trying to talk to, I think.
Yes.
Because the Facebook, majority of the time, is an amazing tool, and so I'm the same as you. I've found some amazing positives out of it. But for anyone who, because I know a lot of people do get on the Let's Start a Group bandwagon, it's not always great for everyone. But what are some of your tips for someone who would be looking to set up a Facebook group?
Great question.
Successful one.
Yeah. And look, it's such a good point what you said about where is your target market hanging out, because and this is a realization I've had because I've recently started my second free group. My first group is called Wellness Entrepreneurs, and it's really a space for people like you and me and other people working in that wellness industry to come and, you know, feel supported and share the love, all of that sort of stuff. And that's been incredibly successful. I think we're up to about almost 1,300 people in there, and it's just a beautiful space and one of my favourite places to hang out. And then I started a podcaster Facebook group. So for people that were entrepreneurs who are podcasting, or those who thought they wanted to start a podcast. And I found that much more difficult. And I've found the same thing in other podcaster groups where I hang out, and I can't quite put my finger on it. And it's, you know, one of those things that I'm constantly wondering about, but I found it a lot harder to build. And so and I also have clients who are health coaches that might work with mums that are like, why can't I get the same level of engagement in my group with my mums that you get over there with your entrepreneurs who are also mums? And I'm like, what I've realized is entrepreneurs are their own beast. Female entrepreneurs are their own beast. Like we are in there, we're talking, we're like, you know, sharing everything. Whereas a group over here of, you know, male and female podcasters, or mums that are just like wanting to talk about being a mum, or just wanting to watch the conversation, you won't get necessarily the same level of engagement. So I think it's really important to think about who it is that you are setting that group up for, and are they going to find it easy to reveal and share in a Facebook group? Because what I've found works incredibly well is when you do have a vibe that is supportive and open and honest, and people share selfies and they share what's going on for them on a personal level, and that takes time to grow. So I reckon I was probably at 200 people in my group before I felt like it wasn't just me talking to myself in there. And so you've got to kind of be willing to make that commitment, and willing to show up there every day, and willing to talk to yourself and feel like this is never going to go anywhere. But it will grow. It can just be a slow growth. But, you know, with entrepreneurs particularly, they like to be able to share what they're doing. So having a day where promo is okay, I think is really important if you're starting a group for entrepreneurs. Whereas if you're starting a group that's for a different type of target market, you need to think, well, what's going to be valuable for them to show up for? Is it that they'll want to ask questions of me? Or is it that they'll want to share what's going on for them? And really think about that. So it all comes back to ideal client at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I love one of the things that you mentioned there was to show up every day. And that is the massive difference, I think, between a lot of groups that I have been in and am in. But having the person who runs the group in there as a big part of the community, it means so much, because usually people aren't just joining for the group for the name. They're joining to be a part of you as well and your community. So having and you're great at it. You're always sort of in your group and touching base and stuff. And that's such an important part of that connection, and makes people want to keep coming back, I think, as well.
And I think it's really important to not just, you know, demonstrate leadership in that way, but also to I call it like, it's like a shared leadership model where you're also raising the spotlight on the people that are in your group. So it's not just about you and about the advice you have, and you come and answer all the questions because you're the boss of the group and so you know everything and you're building your profile. If you can build the profile of other people in your group, it's so much better. So, you know, if I see a question about I don't know, you know, something to do with something that I think, I could probably answer that, but actually I know there's 3 people who hang out in this group that will answer it so much better, I'll tag them, because then they feel good. They get an opportunity to kind of profile what they're doing, and it raises everyone's kind of level of you know, value in the group. Like they feel valued and they value the group more. So I think that's really important as well, and it's something that a lot of Facebook group leaders do not get at all.
No, that's an amazing tip, actually, Katie. But yeah, that's true, and it's that community. It's not just that just posting one a day thing like everyone else does. It's about getting involved and yeah, bringing everyone together as well. So that's awesome. Thank you so much. I could literally talk to you all day, as you know. Let you go. You've given us some amazing tips today. But I definitely I would love for you to share with us how we can reach out to you in the future as well. So do you have, what's happening? I know you've got heaps of amazing stuff happening, but I'd love for you to tell us what you have on at the moment and what's going on with you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, look, the easiest way for people to connect with me is really in my Facebook group. I'd love people to join that if they're not in it already. So they can find that it's a bit.ly link. So bit.ly/start, grow, thrive. Or you can just search in the Facebook bar for the Wellness Entrepreneurs, which should come up. And yeah, so that's kind of where I'm always talking about what's going on and how people can work with me. The podcasting course is there if people are interested in that. But yeah, the Facebook group is fun. Come and hang out. And, if you want to work with me, then we can totally chat about that too.
Yay. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Katie. And we look forward to connecting with you again online or offline, wherever we see you next.
Yay, thanks so much for having me. I hope it's been fun and good luck to all the girls.
Thank you. All right, well, thank you so much again for joining us today. I hope you found some amazing, very useful information in there like I did. And as Katie said, please find her and search her and find all her amazing information and goodness that she has to give you. And yeah, awesome. I'll see you next time for our next episode. Thank you. Bye.